So that's everything I've got for content in this lesson. I've just got a quick exam style question to have a quick look at if you think you've understood this bit or if you need to go back over and have a look at things. There's quite a few complicated bits in this lesson, especially the bit about linear interpolations. Please don't worry if you don't get it first time round, but I really do think it's a good idea to have a go at these questions. Even if you look at this now and think, I have no idea how to do this, write yourself down some notes. Okay, there's a table here. It's the weekly food spend for a family. Try and remember how we calculate the mean. Even if you can't remember anything apart from the formula, that's fine. Write the formula down, have a think about how you'd apply it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, just have a bit of a think. Try and remember how we calculate the median and how it's different from the mean. And the interquartile range, what was that about? What was the interquartile range about? It was about Q1 and Q3, the lower and upper quartiles, wasn't it? So have a think about this question. Just pause the video for a few minutes and have a think about it, and I'll go through the answer in a second. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to have a go at that question or have a think about how you might answer it if you weren't sure. I'll go over it now and we'll have a look at how we do it. So here's the table, and we wanted to calculate the mean. Now for frequency data, remember the formula we're applying is that the mean, remember x, the bar on top, means the mean of the x values, is the sum of the frequency times x over n, which is the number of people total. There were 50 families, so the total of that one was 50. Now the x value is a little bit complicated. Well, not really complicated, but we have to remember what it is because we've got a group here. So to get one precise value, we need an extra column for the midpoint, and that's the middle of the group. So if I write these out, the middle of that group is 15, halfway between 0 and 30. Middle of this one's 40, 75, and 150. And we need one more column as well, which is going to be fx, f times x, the frequency times x, which is the midpoint, and that's going to help us to calculate the numerator of this formula. So all we do to get that is multiply the frequency by the midpoint. So we're going to do 8 by 15 for the first one, which gets us 120. 10 by 40 for the second one's 400. 21 by 75 is 1,575. And 1,650 for the last one. Now this says we need to do the sum of fx. That's the sum of this whole column. I'm adding all this column together. So I'm adding these together. Add together. So I'll do that now. Do that in the calculator. Make sure I don't make a mistake. Which is a good point, by the way. You have calculators in the exam. Please do use them. Don't try and do too much in your head under the pressure of the exam. You will make a mistake, and you'd rather spend an extra second or two using the calculator than only getting it right in your head 90% of the time. If you only get it right 90% of the time, at some point in the exam you will mess up some mental arithmetic, and it's so annoying losing marks for mental maths because you know how to do that, and you've got a calculator to help you. So please do make the most of it. Okay, so I've got the totals now. I'm now going to apply the formula. So all I do is take that total, 3745, and divide it by n, which is the number of people, or the number of families in this case, which was 50. I'll do that calculation, and I get 74.9, and that's in pounds, so that's £74.90 is the estimated median. Remember, it's just an estimate. Because we don't know in these groups. So say for this second group, we don't know how much these 10 families actually spend precisely. We just know it's between £30 and £50 a week. But the mean weekly spend, the estimate of, is £74.90. So we're doing the median now. And remember, to do that, this was about finding where the middle person is, or the middle family in this case. And then once we found the middle family, we will do some linear interpolation to figure out exactly where they are. So remember, to find the median, we do n plus 1 over 2. So the middle family, or middle person, is 50, because remember there's 50 families total, plus 1 over 2, and that's 25.5. So we're looking for the 25, or halfway between the 25th and the 26th family. If we look down this column, we can see we've been through 8 families, we've been through, 18 families, and by the end of this group, we've been through 39 families. So it's somewhere in this group, isn't it? It's somewhere between the 18th and 39th, so it's in this third group. So remember the linear interpolation formula. It is the start of the group plus how far through the group we need to go divided by how many people in the group there are multiplied by the width of the group. Okay, so the start of the group was 50 because we're in this third group. Now, how far through the group do we want to go? Well, we're 18 people through by the start of that group. We want to go 25.5 through, so we need to go an extra 7.5, don't we? Divided by how many there are in that group, there's 21 in that third group, multiplied by how wide the group is, it goes from 50 to 100, so it's 50 people wide. If I apply that formula, I'll stick that in the calculator, we get 67.9, and that is our estimate of the median. So the median is 67.9 or £67.90. Okay, can you see that's actually a little bit different to the mean? It's lower than the mean is. It's because of the way the data is distributed. They can be slightly different. But that's how we do the estimate of the median. Remember doing this n plus 1 over 2 to find the middle person, and then applying the linear interpolation formula. Now the last bit was finding the interquartile range, or the IQR. Now in the question I gave you Q3, so I gave you that Q3 was 98.2. Now remember that the interquartile range is Q3, or the upper quartile, minus Q1, which is the lower quartile. We already know this one, but we don't know Q1, so we need to figure it out. So we're going to find Q1 in the data. Now to find Q1, we need to find the person who's a quarter of the way through the data. Now to do that, hopefully you remember we use this formula, n plus 1 over 4. Just like we do n plus 1 over 2 for the median, we do n plus 1 over 4 to find 1/4 of the way through. N's 50, as we know. If we do that, we get 12.75. So we want somewhere between the 12th and the 13th family, and closer to the 13th. And then we apply our formula. So if you remember, the first thing we need in the formula is the start of the group. We need to figure out which group we're in first. So there's 8 people in that group. We haven't got to the 12.75th person yet, but we're 18 people through by the end of the second group. So there must be in this second group somewhere. Now the start of that group is 30, so I'm applying the linear interpolation formula now. I want to add on how far through the group I need to go. Well, I'm 8 people through at the start of it. I need 12.75 of the way through. 12.75 people through the data. So I need to go an additional 4.75 people. I divide that by how many people there are in that group. There's 10 people in the group. And I multiply by the width of that group, which is from 30 to 50. So I multiply by 20. I'm going to type all that in and get as an estimate for the lower quartile Q1. And that comes out at 39.5. Okay, so that's the lower quartile we found there. So that's, remember, it's pounds we're doing here, so the lower quartile estimate is £39.50. The upper quartile estimate was £98.20. So to get the IQR, or the interquartile range, all I do is Q3, which is 98.2, minus Q1, which is £39.50. And that gets us an estimate of the interquartile range, which is £58.70. And that's our estimate of the interquartile range. Okay, so hopefully that clears up that question. I hope it's made some sense to you. It's quite a long, I know it's been quite a long lesson. Feel free to go back over it or just use if you're on the Solve4x website, there's those little links on the left hand side of the video which let you jump to different parts of it if you weren't sure about certain bits of the lesson. It will take a couple of goes, maybe a little bit more, to figure out how all this stuff fits together. Okay? And that's the end of that lesson. Thanks very much for watching. I'm afraid there's even more on representing and using data, and we'll go through that next time. That's a little bit more about standard deviation and about coding data. So I hope you'll join me again then. In the meantime, loads more stuff on this lesson on the Solve4x website. There's loads of quiz questions and problem papers and past papers and all sorts of stuff for you to have a go at. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.